we were not able to. This is Women's History Month segment part two. This is our talk back. We were not able to get Pastor Ben up on our Facebook page, so we are coming back here for our talk. And so he is going to join us hopefully in just a moment. Hello, 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 hello. Hello,
Can
hello,
you hear me?
hello. I
Can you
can
hear
and
me?
I can see you.
Okay. Okay.
Facebook didn't want to let us be great today.
Say it again. Say it
I said
again.
Facebook didn't want to let us be great today.
Nope. Nope. I'm
I'm
wondering if it's
wondering if it's
because I
because I
came
came
in
in
at the end of the. I switched over after you closed out the
the
YouTube.
YouTube. Mm-hmm.
So
So
maybe
maybe
next
next
week I'll
week I'll
just go
just
to
go to
Facebook
Facebook. Okay. Okay.
and,
Yeah.
and see
And
how
see
that
how that
works.
works. Okay.
Uh, but
But
anyway,
anyway,
Hattie
Hattie
McDaniel.
McDaniel.
I remember and
And
going. I
going, I
think
think
I'm not
I'm not
sure.
sure.
Going to
Going
the
to the
Wind was
Wind
the
was the
first thing
first
I
thing I
saw
saw
her
her
in,
in. Mm-hmm.
but I
But
think
I
that's
think
the
that's the
movie that she
movie that
was
she was
most
most
noted
noted
for.
for. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Um,
and I've
and
seen
I've
her in
seen
a
her in
few
a few
other
other
things, but
things,
like I
but
said,
like
I
I said, I
think that's
think
the
that's
one.
the
I,
one.
matter of fact,
Matter
I
of fact,
know
I
that's the
know
one
that's
that
the
she
one
was
she was
most
most
noted for.
noted for. Mm-hmm.
Going with the
That's
Wind.
that's what I saw her in, and I learned about her other roles, but like they said, that was pretty much the only role that she was being offered. And I will
Hmm.
say from my own experience, trying to go into acting, um, one role that I played, the very first role I ever played was as a housekeeper. Because again, here it is, and that was back in, ooh, this was before I left Tallahassee, so you're talking at least 15, 16 years ago. That was back then. Those were still the roles that you're being offered as a black person, especially new to cinema. You're usually being offered the housekeeper role, the maid role, the seedy roles if you're a woman. And so that was the role that I was offered. I auditioned for different roles, but that was the role I was offered. It was a it was these roles do not pay well. especially if it's especially if it's like an experimental sort of thing. So I think I was
Hmm.
paid like maybe $15-$20 an hour for it. But my husband went along with me, and it took us, because it was a short film. I think the film was like 5 minutes. It was a short film, and I was only in like maybe a 30-second scene or something like that, or 45-second scene. But it took us all day for them to shoot that scene. That was my first taste of cinema and behind the scenes and what it takes to shoot scenes. And when I left from that, I told my husband, I said, I will never complain again about how much actors get paid, because it took them all day to shoot a 45-second scene. And part of that was the cameras, lighting,
Hmm.
shooting the scene from different angles, making sure the sound was hearable when you were doing your lines. I don't think I had any. I didn't have any lines for this piece. It was more so like
Hmm.
gesturing and comforting the person because their relative had died and they were kind of like reading their inheritance letter. And so I was in the scene, but not my face. You could just see me sort of from the shoulders down, and I was kind of like comforting the person. Just to do that, I think I maybe had one line after that, but that scene, that first scene, was like 8 hours. Yeah, it was hours to get the 45 seconds that they needed because they had to shoot it from all these different angles. And like I said, when I left that day, when I left set, I told my husband, I said, I will never again complain about what actors make and how much they make because that was some tedious stuff. the second time,
Hmm.
the second time that I got an opportunity to work on a film, it was called the 48-hour project, and it was a film competition where people had 48 hours to create a film from scratch. So they had to assemble a team, and they told you what your role was, and you had pretty much like 12 to 24 hours to learn your role and learn your parts. And then we went in and we shot it, and they had to shoot, edit, cast, all of that within 48 hours and deliver their completed 5-minute film in those 48 hours. Why did I sign up for that? It was adventurous. It was adventurous. It was adventurous. And again, Robert came with me on the set. I have some pictures up from when we did it on Facebook back then. But Robert came with me on the set. And
Hmm.
again, I didn't have lines. And based on my first um, thing, I was happy I didn't have lines this time. All I had to do was go out on the edge of this dock. These was all supposed to be like creative people at a crazy house. That was her script. And I was a autistic artist. I played an autistic artist. I was like, oh, I can do that. I played an autistic artist. They had me out on this dock, way out on this rickety dock. So it was a little dangerous. They had me on this dock and they had a easel out there and I was painting and I was supposed to be autistic. Now looking back at that role that I played, I probably would not do that today only because I would not want to take that role from someone who actually is autistic, right?
Hmm.
So I know better now than to do that. Um, but I worked with autistic students, and so I had an idea of sort of some of the visible mannerisms of autism. So I kind of played into that. So that's how people could kind of tell that my character was autistic because I was doing some visible things that let people know what my character's issue was. That again, we had to shoot, we had to get in there, get it done, 48 hours into the night filming to turn in that film within the time frame. And again, and happy Monday to those of you who are coming in. And again, I learned that I will not be complaining about what actors make because it's easy to complain when you don't know what goes into a thing or when you don't
Hmm.
know what goes into a process.
Hmm.
So now having done it, and I also help edit screenplays for people and scripts. Having done those things, I now know what goes into it in the same thing. So when award season rolls around and I see those people, those actors standing up there receiving their awards for the work that they put in, I can appreciate that more now. When I see the producers get up there and the screenwriters, I can appreciate that from a different perspective because now I have a better understanding of what goes into that process.
Hmm. Now, I haven't experienced that, but what I have experienced is actually being behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking classes. An apostle I know, me and him been friends for years, and he had a camera crew, and he, had them to do free classes, and I signed up for it. And being a cameraman is not just getting behind the camera.
Right.
It's not that. You have to learn the language. You hear people talking, how to decipher thing and what they exactly as you get comfortable with it. You know, when the zoom in, zoom out,
Mm-hmm.
and what angles they want and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Camera one, zoom out.
Mm-hmm.
Camera two, zoom in.
Mm-hmm.
Camera three, fade out. All this type of stuff. You know. So you have to know which camera you are, so you know who they're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to. So when you were talking about different angles,
Mm-hmm.
I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah. It's a
And then,
beautiful it's a beautiful coordinated effort. It's
hmm
literally like orchestrating, but visually. You're visually orchestrating, and your instrument is your camera. And
hmm
um, having done a little bit of that, I have not done the camera work, right? But as an artist who has taught photography and um, that area of art, we have
hmm
had to talk about the videography part. So I know terms like, the rolling camera, panning up, panning down,
hmm
zooming in, zooming out. Like, you have to know, like you said, you have to know the language in order to know what you're doing. And you have to pay attention to when they call for your camera to do certain things, because if you don't, guess what? They gotta cut, they gotta reshoot, they gotta run it again, and time is
hmm
money in the industry, you know. So I think that and even sometimes photography, I think people think that anybody can do it, right? I've done
hmm
professional photography. My husband has and is a professional photographer. Has his own professional photography business with cameras, lighting, screens, curtains, all of the stuff. You name it. He's done weddings, he's done banquets, he's done church events, um, and the amount of people that try to downplay that art to, oh, you're just a picture taker. It's like, listen, there are a lot of things now that you can do on your camera phone, on your phone and your camera. There are not a lot of things now you can do that went through a hand process and technique in photography for a very long time.
hmm
Samsung as a brand has some of the best photographic equipment built into your phone camera. So if you're looking for, and Samsung ain't paying me, they should though. But if you're looking for good quality photography with a phone, Samsung brand phones have that better than Apple, by the way, for anybody who's got Apple. Um, but that wasn't always the case. And I think people see the arts in many times they see the arts and they don't appreciate the process, and they wind up, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Minimizing. They wind up minimizing certain art forms because the process is not as visible to them. So
hmm
artists can sometimes make it look easy what they're doing and what they're accomplishing, and to the viewer it can become minimized or taken for granted because it looks like anybody can do it until you spend a 12-hour day photographing an event. And you've got to worry about lighting and attitudes and faces and facial features and poses and getting the right people at the right angle and adjusting clothes so that you get that beautiful piece at the end. And
Mhm.
sometimes people can get really, really bothered. They can get an attitude with you trying to adjust them. Ask me how I know. But when it all comes out at the end, they're like, oh my God, this shot is amazing. Okay, if the shot is amazing, here's the price. Oh no, we don't want to pay that. We want to pay 50 cents a shot.
Mhm.
And so that's why we haven't done a lot of events in the last few years because people simply get to a point to where they think that this is easy to do. They think it's easy to do, and it's not. It's not. And so, as cameras and as things for cinema get a little bit easier to process, you'll see more people using their phones, even for video, even for making films, because of how many things now are built inside of the camera. And,
Mhm.
I'm not just talking about, let's see if I go here. So, like on this camera, right, down at the bottom, most people just hit photo. Most people just hit photo. But if you go to portrait, portrait is going to give you all of this. See that?
Mhm.
That's all of the professional tools for cameras. It's got slow motion in there, it's got pro video, it's got filming and photography at night. It's got a thing here where if you're filming food, it's got director's view, it's got portrait video, single take. These are all camera features of professional cameras that are right there at your fingertip, but most people don't go past the photo button to know that. They're just interested in the quick snap. And
Mhm.
so, going back to and sort of closing out here with Hattie McDaniel and Whoopi Goldberg, you know, I would say as far as black actresses, they are a part of the before Hollywood started really letting black women in.
Mhm.
And so even though she had the role in Ghost, right? The role in Ghost was still a supporting role.
Mhm.
It was not the leading role. Whereas today, she could have gotten a leading role against Patrick Swayze. She could have been the leading woman in that
Right.
film, but not in her time. In her time, it was Patrick Swayze, Demi
Demi
Moore,
Moore.
and she played the supporting role. But really,
Mhm.
Whoopi stole that film.
She did.
When
It,
people
it
think
was
about
more
Ghost,
about her than anything else.
right? When people think about the film Ghost, they do reference Patrick Swayze, but most people remember the film Ghost from Whoopi's role
Mhm.
because she was that good that the main characters fade into the background and you get more interested in Whoopi's character.
Mhm.
That's why she got an award. Cuz she literally became like the central figure of a film that was not intended to be about her. It was really intended to be about their love story and loving people beyond this life and all that. But no, it Ghost, when we think Ghost, most people think Whoopi Goldberg in their
Mhm.
minds. Um and so yeah, final thoughts on our first women's history wrap up.
We need to understand what those that came before us went through
Mm-hmm.
to get us to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Some people took roles because they knew it was a stepping stone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They did it so we wouldn't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
You
like
know, most of our parents did
Martin
that.
Luther King. He took on that role as a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us are so misinformed that we're trying to allow them to tear that bridge down.
Mm. You know what? And as we close out today, that brings me to something that was said to me last night on my Facebook platform. And I said, I want to bring it up today and thank you for bringing it back. Someone on my post, because you've probably seen the post that has gone viral about all of the months that we are turning into Black History Month. Have you seen that post?
Say it
Have you
again.
seen the post about,
You
I'm
started
sorry,
breaking
have
up.
you seen the post about all the months we're turning into Black History Month? Have you seen that post?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that post went viral. Out of all of the black people coming in there, like we've had crazy white people in there all day. I've been blocking them. That's fine. We know they're crazy, right?
Mhm.
But out of all of the black people that came on, this one guy, black guy, comes into the comments and he's like, "We need to, we need to start our own schools. We need to open our own banks. We need to do this. We need to do that." And I politely said to him, I said, "We have black schools. We have
Mhm.
black banks. I'm going to encourage you this month to go and take a look at how many black banks have reopened and have opened up. Go look at the black schools that are in operation." He was talking about on the K-12 level. So he comes back to me and he says, um, "But they're not connected. Um, you don't. Are you just not aware of certain
Mm.
things?" And I said, "Not you coming in here of not you coming in here being condescending on a post where we're all celebrating Black history." And then he's like, "Well, is that how you took it? Because I'm angry. I don't know about you, but I'm angry. Y'all not, what did he say, we weren't radical enough or something like that." He said something, some mess. We're not radical enough for him, right? And so I said, "Well,
Bye.
please." I said, "Well, please. First of all, we're not a monolith. We're not a monolith. All
Mhm.
black people don't act the same." But I said, "But please go find the space that you resonate with." I hid the
Mhm.
conversation because I didn't want other black people to come get him because they was gonna come get him. But he said we weren't radical enough, or we weren't. Oh, he said we never not radical. He said y'all aren't revolutionary enough for me. And I'm gonna come back and talk about that on my page because
Okay.
in if your idea of revolution is we're not angry enough or we're not violent enough, if we're not revolutionary enough for you, then neither is the Black Panthers. Hello.
Mhm.
Neither is the Black Panthers then. Because the Black Panthers were doing more than just standing around with guns.
Mhm.
And that goes back to what you just said about people not understanding what people before them were doing. The Black Panthers were feeding people. The Black
Mhm.
Panthers were providing not just the breakfast program, but just food in general to the community. The Black Panthers was doing literacy programs with children,
After school care.
after school care, like, and so I think people have a really distorted idea of what it means to be a revolutionary. And that's why I looked at that comment and I said, you know what? I'm gonna leave him right where he is. I'm gonna leave him right where he is. I didn't delete his comment. I just hid it because I said this. This mindset right here is why we're having a hard time getting some things done. Because revolutionary, to be revolutionary, and I'm closing, to be
Again.
revolutionary is not just about you tearing down stuff. It's not just about seeing what you can destroy. It's also
Hmm.
seeing what you can build. So if the day-to-day monotony of teaching children how to read, write, spell, and count, which is what I do every single day, if you don't see that as revolutionary, I can't help you. This is the wrong space for you. If giving mutual aid to people who need it because they don't have groceries, they don't have money, they don't have money for gas to get to an interview, if that's not revolutionary enough for you, I don't know what is going to be. So then I got to go back. We got to go back and we got to ask ourselves, what is revolutionary and who defines it? Because if you think being a revolutionary is just about picking up a weapon and going to stand in the streets, you need to go sit down and you need to learn more.
All the
And you
way
need
down.
to learn more about previous struggles for liberation. Because most of them were not posturing with guns.
Hmm.
They weren't. And so I'm going to end there. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, but this is a special edition. It's all about Mondays, melanated Mondays, melanated March, Women's History Month. So you're going to get a little bit of everything, but just one time a week. I think y'all can handle that. All right. Thank you all again for your time and attention. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to evil. So go out and be what?
Light.
Light. Take care, everyone. Be well and be light. Thank you for your time.